YubiKeys, my new best friends. If you use Sudo, this is going to be important. Hopefully you're using Ubuntu Linux. That's kind of what this is tailored towards, but this will probably work on most Linux distributions, at least if they're Debian based. So what we're going to do is we're going to configure our Ubuntu Linux system so that it requires a YubiKey in order to run a command that is preceded with sudo. Now, I hope that none of you out there need an explanation as to what sudo is or what it is used for, but nonetheless, if I run what is on sudo, we get back that it is used to execute a command as another user. I can actually run apt info on sudo because it is its own binary. Sudo is a program. It's designed to allow a sysadmin to give limited root privileges to users and log root activity. And just like with any other command on Linux, we can pull up a help menu. We can pull up a pretty decent sized help menu for sudo. Though most people never use sudo with any of the options, it does have its own options. So there are many commands in which you can only run them successfully if you have preceded the command with sudo. A classic, a perfect example of that would be if you wanted to update the repositories. To do that, you're going to run sudo apt update. You might add -y on the end. If I attempt to do this without sudo, it's not going to work. I get a permission denied error. So I need sudo to do this. And when I run the command with sudo, it then begins the process of updating all of the repositories on my system. Now I've been running the sudo command already, so it's cached inside of my current terminal. But if I open up another tab and I attempt to run sudo-l, and what that will do if I run sudo-l, it will list out the user's privileges or check a specific command. This is something that you might even do if you're performing privilege escalation. You get on a system, you want to see what you can do by having access to the sudo command. So you run sudo-l. Now when I do this, it wants my password, which is how the system should be. What we are doing is we are taking it a step further, a huge step further, and we are requiring that it not only needs a password, but it needs a key press from our YubiKey. Now, one of the cool things about this is that you're able to do this on any YubiKey. This doesn't have to be one of the ones with more capabilities. In order to do this, you simply need a YubiKey that has FIDO capabilities, and to my understanding, I think they all do. But you do need to install a couple packages. So we're going to do a search. We're going to search for pam.u2f, and this will pull up both packages that we are interested in. So the two packages that you want to make sure that you have installed for this are going to be libpam.u2f. This is your universal second factor PAM module. The second package is pam.u2f-cfg. This is a universal second factor PAM module command line helper tool. We can do apt info on each one of those. One is an authentication mechanism. It will require the U2F device, in this example the YubiKey, in order to authenticate. And the other package, the PAM U2F-CFG, it contains the command line tool. This is used to generate information that is needed by the other package in order to perform the authentication. So to install both of those, we're simply going to run sudo apt install lid pam -u2f and pam u2f cfg. Alright, so once you have both of those packages installed, next you're going to want to insert your YubiKey into your system. Once again, this needs to be a FIDO U2F capable YubiKey. If you have the YubiKey Manager CLI installed, you can run ykman and you can just do info. That'll give you back information on your device, and what you're looking for is that you have these two right here, FIDO U2F and FIDO 2. So if you have a different YubiKey, you might not see anything for any of these other applications. That one neither. But as long as you have this one and this one, then you are good to go. Alright, so go ahead and plug your YubiKey into your system. I have mine plugged in right here. We need to associate the YubiKey with the account. Alright, so you're going to run the following command: make directory with a -p, and we're going to do a tilde, which represents your home directory. It'll be the same thing as just typing /home followed by the user that you are currently logged in as. So we're going to do the tilde /.config /Yubico with a capital Y. And now we're going to use the pam u2f cfg command. You can run this with -- version. It'll pull up the version. I'm using 1.4.0. The main reason that is even relevant is because there does exist a CVE for this. It's a type of bypass, authentication bypass or something, but it only applies to some specific versions that are earlier than this one. If I do a what is on pam u2f cfg, get back, this is a configuration tool for the u2f pam module. So we're going to run pam u2f cfg followed by the redirector operator. We're going to redirect the output of this into the .config directory inside of your home directory, represented by that tilde, /Yubico /u2f_keys. These commands will be in the description. So ultimately, you should have a file inside of your Yubico directory. It's going to be called u2f_keys. And when you run that command, you see that the cursor is blinking. You should have your YubiKey should be lighting up, and then you just go ahead and press it. And when we do, it finishes what it needs to do, and the command completes. So what you have done is you have completed the registration process. So I want to take a quick moment just to further elaborate on exactly what this is inside of the u2f_keys file. Now, I said that it was a key. To be more specific, it is actually a key mapping. If you look at it, it kind of resembles a hash, but it is not a hash. It is a key mapping, and specifically, it ties the username on this system to a specific U2F FIDO credential. And it does that by combining various pieces of information. So the first section of this is the username. The next section is the base 64 encoded public key, and you immediately recognize it's base 64 because we have the double equals signs at the end. Next we have the key handle, which is also base 64 encoded. So the ES256 refers to the encryption algorithm that is being used. And finally, the plus presence indicates that the user must physically touch the YubiKey during the authentication process to activate it. Okay, so now we're going to open up a file using sudo. It's going to be located in /etc/pam.d/sudo. The line that you need to add is right here. You need to add auth required and pam_u2f.so. Once again, this will be in the description. And this is on line number 10, right underneath @include common auth. So the placement is very important. You want it to be just as you see it on my screen. Once you have done that, we're going to do a Control X. You have to do a Y and then enter. And from this point, you should be good to go. So we're going to go ahead and run a test. We're going to open up a new tab. And we're going to run sudo echo test. I am asked for my password, like always. I'm going to hit enter. And now on my YubiKey, you can see that it is now blinking. And now we touch the capacitive touch sensor. And the command completes, and you can see that the test was echoed back into the terminal. So that lets you know that it did run the echo test command successfully by using sudo once we were able to complete the authentication process by touching the capacitive sensor on the YubiKey. So it is working as it should, and that is absolutely great. That's what we wanted. Now, a couple things that are important to understand about this, just to give you some more context. If you, I'm using Ubuntu Linux, and specifically, I always like to show people the exact version because sometimes it matters. I'm using Ubuntu 24.04.3 LTS. I use full disk encryption. I don't have any issues with this. You shouldn't have any issues. The only way you might possibly have an issue is if you are encrypting your home directory separate from other parts of your system. It is possible that you could lock yourself out. So you might want to do some testing first, maybe on a test system, before you actually do this on your main system. So we can actually cat out the contents of .config/Yubico and the contents of that file called u2f_keys. And inside of that is going to be the key that we used the YubiKey to help us create. So if you want to see what the key looks like, this is how you would go about that. You can actually cat out the contents of that file and you can get a look at the key. Now, what's important to understand, and I know this from firsthand experience, one of the things that I like to do is I like to periodically change my host name. In fact, I even wrote a bash script that kind of made the process a little more fun and interesting, and easier for me to do this and do it using randomly generated names. I did a whole video on it, made a bash script on it, and I loved it. And so by doing that, I realized that another issue that you will run into is if you ever decide to change your host name, you're gonna have an issue. So obviously, however this is being derived, it must have some correlation, or maybe it's with the PAM modules. I'm not exactly sure on how that works, but I just know that if you change the host name, if I change the host name on this machine from forensics to something else, this will no longer work. I'll still be able to get access to my system, but when I attempt to run a command with sudo, it won't let me run any commands preceded by sudo. It just won't work. But thankfully the fix is actually pretty simple. All you do is you just rerun the commands that I showed you. You already will have modified the pam.d /sudo file, which is important. That will already have been modified. So all you're doing is you're rerunning this command right here, and that'll just generate a new key for you and put it back into this file. So obviously that also means if it's that easy, well then I guess what's to stop somebody from getting on your system and then using a different YubiKey and doing this, and then basically gaining sudo access to your system that way? Well, you do have to remember that they still don't know your password, but there is something else that we can do to solve that potential issue. It is a little bit more risky because if you mess it up, you can be locked out. It can cause some problems for you, but you can actually move this from its current location to a different location where you would need sudo access just to get to it, because obviously we don't need sudo access to get to this file. It's in my home directory. I don't need sudo access for that. So you can move this to a different location in your file system. We're going to move that file in /.config /yubico /u2f_keys. We're going to move it over to /etc /yubico /u2f_keys. Now, first I need to create this directory inside of Etsy. So go ahead and run the make directory command -p on /Etsy, and we're going to do Yubico. So we do have to create that directory. And now I will rerun that. And once the u2f_keys file has been moved to that new location, the PAM file will need to be modified again so that the PAM u2f module is able to find the u2f_keys file that we just moved. So we're going to once again run sudo nano. We're going to open up that same file, and you're going to come down to that line that we added earlier, and you're going to add the rest of this to the end of that line. Once again, this will be in the description. So you're going to add auth file equals, and you're giving it the location to that u2f_keys file that we moved inside of Etsy /Yubico. Now, a good thing to do so that you can test to see if this actually works is before you actually complete all of this, it'd be a good idea maybe just to open up another terminal, and in a separate tab or in a separate terminal gain sudo access. That way if this fails for some reason, you still have access to change things. So with this addition to that file, we're going to go ahead and save that. And now, once again, we're going to open up a new tab, and we're going to repeat that test. We're going to run sudo echo test. We're going to ask for our password. Once again, the YubiKey starts blinking. I'll give it a touch. And and our test is successful. So what that means for us this time around is that it is working as it should, but it's working with our new configuration. So we no longer have that file inside of .config/Yubico that was called u2f_keys. It doesn't exist. We have another, we still have a configuration file in here, but that file no longer resides there. And with it being in a new location, you can still cat out the contents of it. We can still see it. We can still cat out the contents of it. But without having sudo access, if I attempt to edit the file, if I want to write over it or edit the file in any way, it's just not going to be possible without having sudo privileges. So I can see it, I can cat out the contents of it, but if I open it up, it's not writable, and that's very important. Hey man, I love Linux, and you know what? I love YubiKeys too. I've grown very fond of these guys. It's absolutely incredible just how much you can do with these YubiKeys. If you don't have one, for some reason you don't have one, you need to get one. Links are in the description. Go check out the playlist. Go check out the other videos that I've done. If you want to see more stuff on YubiKeys, let me know. Let me know in a comment. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please tell me that you're already subscribed, but if for some reason you're not, subscribe to the channel. Fresh Forensics, baby. We do this every day, and we're gonna keep doing it every day. I don't know what else to do. I actually don't have anything else to do. So with that being said, keep learning and stay fresh.
Fresh Forensics, baby.